Hello, and welcome to the Empress podcast. I am your host, Jessica, known in the online space as Jess the Empress. I started this podcast to help you be present with yourself, cope with chaos, and simplify your life. I do this by combining psychology, behavioral science, and the tarot. I have a background in mental health, specifically a master's in clinical social work from USC, and I'm a professional tarot reader. So get ready to have a nurturing, creative, and empowering experience with me as we use practical magic. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to the pod. It's your girl, Jess. I am so happy to be here today. The card for the month of March is the Two of Pentacles in the reverse position. And this is where I'm getting all of this context because the Two of Pentacles, it represents a time when there is no joy, or when joy and being lighthearted are actually performative and they're not genuine. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about going beyond the worst case scenario. And we're going to talk about finding joy in an imperfect world. This is a topic that feels really uncomfortable for a lot of people. And the reason it feels uncomfortable is because we might have an underlying belief that we're not allowed to feel joy. Hey there, coffee lovers. Are you tired of settling for boring coffee? I have a treat for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Heartwork Coffee Bar, your one-stop destination for exceptional coffee experiences. Whether you're a coffee connoisseur or just someone who appreciates a great cup of joe, Heartwork Coffee Bar is here to elevate your coffee game to new heights. At Heartwork Coffee Bar, they take pride in their craft because each batch is carefully roasted to perfection, ensuring that every sip is a symphony of flavor. From the rich and the robust to the light and fruity, they have a coffee blend for every palate. And here's the best part. For you amazing podcast listeners, Heartwork Coffee Bar is offering an exclusive 10% discount on your purchase. Just use the code Empress10 at checkout and you'll save big on your order. Why settle for ordinary when you can indulge in the extraordinary coffee from Heartwork Coffee Bar? Remember to use code Empress10 for that special 10% discount and treat yourself to the coffee experience that you deserve. Don't miss out on this fantastic offer. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks to Heartwork Coffee Bar for making today's episode possible. Now go grab your favorite mug, brew a fresh cup, and enjoy the podcast with the perfect companion, Heartwork Coffee Bar. Cheers. I also want to say this about me in case you've never seen a full body picture of me. I have Baphomet tattooed on my leg. This reminds me every single day of my life about the importance of balance and integration. The card for the month of March is the Two of Pentacles in the reverse position. And this is where I'm getting all of this context because the Two of Pentacles, it represents a time when there is no joy, or when joy and being lighthearted are actually performative and they're not genuine. I just don't think that life is meant to be lived in extremes. I don't think it's helpful. I've lived in extremes before and I wasn't stoked on my experiences. So I had to find what balance meant for me. Let's get into it. I've got a couple of questions for you. When was the last time you looked at nature and just like didn't even care that the flowers were blooming and there were birds outside? And what about with food? When was the last time you actually enjoyed a meal? You know what I'm talking about if you just feel like you're going through the motions. And it's totally okay that you find yourself there. I want to talk about another part of Baphomet that I love as being this symbol that people really project a lot on. Some people love it, some people hate it, which again are kind of extreme reactions and I think are very interesting. The reality of life is like we are responsible for finding our own balance. Life is going to pull us in all types of directions. Okay. Society has conditioned us to value productivity over being present. It mistakes cynicism a lot of the time for someone who's really smart or very intelligent. When we see someone that's happy or that's really, really joyful, that makes us angry if we're in that state of mind. We see, things as like, oh, fun, that's just frivolous, or like, lucky them, I wish I had the time. Or we think it's a very like silly, wasteful thing to do or feeling to experience. Society has also conditioned us to believe that suffering somehow equals that we're like really deep people. And it also conditions us to trust our fears over the things that we desire. Now, I know a lot of people desire to be happy, but I know that they also struggle onto the path of happiness as if there's just supposed to be a light switch that's an on and off. And then all of a sudden there's happiness. It is cultivated, and it is cultivated day in and day out. The person in the Two of Pentacles, that's kind of all they've been doing, though, is the day in and the day out. They have been only focusing on the tasks at hand, the never ending to do list, the debt that's rising, the problems of the world that they can't even control or influence. They take all of this on, and the day to day just becomes so difficult. And a couple of things we're going to talk about here between the hands of the person in the Two of Pentacles is an infinity loop. They have a pentacle in each hand, but the infinity loop represents magic. In the Magician, you see the infinity loop. You also see it in the Strength card. There's only a few cards in the deck that have the infinity loop, and I love it so much as a symbol of just like an ebb and flow of life, that our energy is always changing and everything is very temporary. I do think that's so important to take away from that particular image or symbol, because it's telling us that just because things are difficult right now and we have to make difficult choices, it doesn't mean that we have to really love everything about our life and find every single moment joyful in order to have joy or to have moments of fun and play and pleasure. We cannot always be sucked in to the wildness and the things that we can't control. I want to ask you to rate and review my podcast. Giving me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would mean the world to me. I love knowing who's listening and what everyone is getting from the episode, so please take a moment of your time to share your thoughts, and I look forward to reading your reviews soon. So, as a mental health professional, this isn't just about, feeling bad. It's about how we've learned to hide from our own truth, whether that truth is pain or joy. Because a lot of us want to experience joy. We just don't give ourselves the permission. We don't think we're allowed to. We want to, but we don't think we're allowed. We think we have to stay stuck in all of the tragedy and the drama and just kind of in this cycle of what we can't control. And I want to shift into the hidden cost of this, because there's always a cost. Pentacles, they can represent money, but they can also just very simply represent cost. And I think it's a great way to frame a pentacle. What might this situation be costing me? My friends, my family, my visions. What is it costing me here? So when we constantly prepare for the worst case scenario or live in the worst case scenario, we lose our capacity to actually experience joy, because the container that we're filling up is of doom and gloom, and there's no space for joy to come in. Our intuition, it gets very muffled. We can't hear it because all we're hearing is outside noise of everything that's going wrong. And it's hard not to take it in. Again, society kind of like incentivizes a victim in a way. It's sad to see, but it's happening. And I want you to be alert to it. And I know that this message isn't going to land with everyone, but I can't talk to everyone. I can only talk to some people. So if you've just been feeling like life hasn't been as beautiful lately, if you have not been feeling connected to other people, if your sense of meaning in general is dissolving, it could just be that you've tipped a little far over into that place of like, oh, what's the point? Like, I can't even be happy for a moment because it's not going to last. But that's like kind of the point. It's not supposed to last. Like, constant happiness is never an end goal. So you kind of trick yourself in believing that should be how happiness needs to exist in your life. It can only exist if it lasts for forever. But stopping yourself from getting excited about things, following up on genuine interests, it's a place that I've been before. Okay. I don't want you to feel like you're alone here. I'm talking as a person who's been in these places before. And the Two of Pentacles is here to say, hey, maybe quite a few of us are going to kind of dip into this place. And let's talk about the Two of Pentacles, from a philosophical term. If all the things that you're doing have really no inherent meaning, that actually doesn't mean that everything is chaos, because chaos is a term that we as humans have created to give whatever this existence is a label. Like chaos is a human created label. So we're choosing that label. And what we can do is choose a different label. Like we get to choose whatever we want. The nihilistic perspective, like it's one. And like I said, I've been there before. Like it just didn't help me be the version of myself that I wanted to be. And Nietzsche actually said, the absence of the predetermined meaning is an invitation to create our own meaning. This is what I'm saying. Like you can choose anything you want. Why I call it chaos. The Two of Pentacles reversed, it's like meaning in your life, value. It's not something you find, it's something that you create day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. Pentacles are not fast moving cards. They are cards that talk about blood, sweat, tears, labor, time, energy. It's a lot that goes into a pentacle. But that's okay. That's not a problem. I have to put myself in balance all the time. So recently I found myself kind of spiraling about like retirement and my future, my health, just like the greatest hits from the album of As Existential Dread were just beating in my head. And instead of letting those fears paralyze me, I was like, all right, well, you know what? I'm not at that future point yet. What can I do today? What do I have control over right now? Oh my gosh, the sun is out. I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna get some fresh air. I'm gonna queue up yoga with Adriene on my YouTube. Like I'm gonna do things I know that help me feel good because I believe that I deserve to feel good. I don't believe I deserve to sit there and just only focus on things that I can't control and make myself feel worse. Or I would say that I can know about because maybe I can control better health outcomes for myself if I start taking care of myself now. That seems reasonable, but it's nothing's guaranteed. But what I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen. I can just hope. And I can, again, see to try if I can set myself up for success by maybe taking care of myself right now in this moment. So, look, I've been in places where things have felt pointless. I'll tell you the worst case scenarios screaming in my ear, telling me, like, how dare I take the first step? How dare I even think that something good can possibly happen? Um, how dare I find laughter? How dare I go outside and do something good for me when everything bad is happening in the world? Well. And maybe it's not so existential for you. Maybe it's just because a bunch of shit stuff has happened in your life recently and you still get into that mental place. Again, totally normal. I just don't want you to stay there for longer than you need to. But you get into that mental place of just thinking everything sucks. Everyone is the worst. Nothing goes right. Everything, everyone, nothing. Those are extreme words, which means I know I'm in an escalated space. I'm not thinking with my higher mind. I'm thinking in a way that's a little distorted. Well, why is that? Oh, yeah, I don't feel like I have any control. I don't feel like my life has any meaning. And so I ask myself then, well, what would really make all of my hard work worth it for me? And that's how I determine meaning and value in my life for who I am and for the life that I live. Well, it's going to make the hard work worth it. Maybe for me, it's not about, you know, for me, the hard work in relationships, what makes it worth it is that I have a partner that I can trust. I have a partner that I know has my back. That makes the hard work worth it to me. The same thing with my friends, the same thing with my colleagues, the same thing for the work I do. It is that it serves a purpose. I'd rather have it in my life than not, and I would rather work for it. I would rather work for it than to have none of these things, none of these people, none of these opportunities. And I don't know, that's just the type of person that I have chosen to be as time has gone on. But my path to becoming the person that I am today, it didn't start with knowing exactly what I wanted. It didn't come from loving things in my life. It came from the opposite. It came from not liking anything and not really liking most people. And deciding that I wanted to like things and I wanted to like people. I wanted to experience a life that I liked and loved. But I had to make choices that made that happen. So it was really a lot of my commitment to investigating, like, what am I actually interested in? What do I want to learn more about? I did tons of stuff and I threw most of it away because I wasn't interested in a lot of it, but there were things that stuck. And those things that stuck are the things that have stuck with me since the times that I was like, oh yeah, this is working. Um, and those things are yoga, those things are walking, it's meditation, it's reading, it's watching movies. Those things have always helped me find some fun and pleasure and joy and laughter. And, from there, things grew. And that's because things were starting to come into balance, right? I wasn't doom and gloom 24/7. I was pouring more into my cup. I was considering that joy could be possible for me. I was choosing to look around with intention to see what I could find that was beautiful that day, or what I could hear that was beautiful, what I could taste that was beautiful. My point is, I decided that I wanted to experience beautiful things and beautiful people. And because I decided that, like in my mind, I I looked for it everywhere. I intentionally was trying to confirm my own belief that there was beauty around me. I was so in need of it that I ended up finding it all over. All over. But I am also one of those people that I still cry at a really good sunset. I am still blown away by the patterns in flowers. I am still in awe at nature. I am also still sad at the way things are in the world. So I don't want anyone to think like, oh, because she has joy, she's never sad. No, I talked about Baphomet. I talked about balance. I talked about not living in the extremes. It doesn't mean that like I'm above any type of low feelings or falling into doom and gloom thinking myself again. It just means that I don't stay there longer than I need to. So yeah, that was like a part of what I did. And if you want to try some of those things out, definitely do it. Create like a little joy list. Even if it's something so small. It can be so small, but that's I think how a lot of things start. And I think it's better to start that way, honestly. But it could be that chocolate is just it actually tastes good. You are still getting a little bit of kick out of some chocolate. Could be maybe something silly someone said and you actually found it silly. You felt yourself kind of get a little smile on your face. I think it's difficult to practice like feeling good. So I think it's better to practice relaxing. I think it's better to practice allowing maybe some of the feelings like you've been ignoring to surface. So I will say this, sometimes when we do start to decide that we will see the joy in life, we actually feel worse before we feel better. But if I'm telling you this, then you don't need to act surprised when it happens. I know it's not a pleasurable thing to experience. However, if we haven't been caretaking ourselves and we have been pushing feelings down, they have to come up and they're going to come up first. But remember, like I said, there has to be space enough in our container for joy to come in, for fun to come in. Then you have to get rid of what is just bubbling over the edges, really, probably. And it's none of the fun stuff first, but once you have space, that is when you have the ability to get what you want, which is that play and that joy and that laughter and that connection. I also think it being intentional about how you schedule something fun. Now, maybe this isn't um, something you are 100% sure will be fun. That's okay. I just want you to put it on your calendar anyway. And I want you to show up. This is the commitment part of what I talk about when I say I was committed to it. There were plenty of times when I would get something out and I was like, I don't feel like this, or I don't even know if this is going to make a difference, but I did it anyway. And a lot of the times I kind of felt like, meh, as I was engaging in that activity or that thing, but I also wasn't feeling miserable. And sometimes I wasn't even totally focused on how I was feeling. So that to me meant, oh, that's actually kind of good. It's getting me out of my head in a way that is helpful. And this is what I mean when I say balance. Is it helpful? Again, because living in doom and gloom all the time is not helpful. And it's not about, toxic positivity. It's not about denying the difficulties in life. It is about integrating, it is about holding space for both the good and the bad, the shadow and the light, the highs and the lows. You get what I'm saying. And the authentic, real, most balanced version of myself, she's not miserable all the time. She's not angry all the time. She's not identifying with what's happened to her pet from her past all the time. That's not who I am because I don't want to be that person. And just like you, I'm going to still face challenges. I am still going to experience a lot of deep pain, but I'm not going to let that be the only part of my story. And I'm not going to let that be the only way I choose to see the world around me. So in closing, the Two of Pentacles, it really, especially in the reverse position, is saying you need to practice some joy. You need to practice having some fun. You need to practice releasing and honestly being real with yourself. Like, because the Two of Pentacles reversed, like I said, it's like you're keeping emotions at bay. In the background of this card, there are these boats that are going up and down on these waves. So we have emotion, we have intuition, we have them being a little turbulent, we have them being a little wild. And what is it we're anchoring into? Are we going to anchor into ourselves as a person that is capable? Are we going to anchor into a person that is magical, that can cast meaning, whatever type of meaning we want? And are we going to do that in a way that makes sense for us? Or are we going to be the type of person that's constantly adrift and just can't really figure things out because that's the story we're telling in our head? We can't figure it out. Just remember that joy isn't found in the same exact moment as your difficult feelings. You have to let them come up, but it can exist in the same life, okay? Difficulty, happiness, joy, struggle. It can all happen in the same life, and that's beautiful. Your whole life doesn't have to be horrible. It just doesn't. And when you're filling your cup up with just even a little bit of what you love and what you find interesting, you then have the strength to deal with the challenges that come. Maybe that's one of the reasons why you feel like the waves have been crashing down because you haven't been doing anything for yourself. I don't think that the capacity for joy is gone with a lot of people. I just think it's been dormant. I think it's been, again, just pushed out as a possibility because of a lot of societal conditioning and a lot of stress and a lot of things thrown in our faces that it's still new to be able to take in this much information from around the world 24/7. And our brains have evolved, but they haven't evolved that much. These are still really new times to be alive in. So don't forget that. Please do not forget that. And it's a muscle. So you have to strengthen it. You have to strengthen it with practice, with patience, with foundational things, the permission to start small. Okay. It's like any other muscle that you would train. You wouldn't give it the heaviest weight in the gym and expect it to have the best performance. You would never do that. And yet we want to make those leaps with our mind all the time. And the Two of Pentacles is like, nope, magic, it hasn't gone anywhere. Your strength, it hasn't gone anywhere. My hope for you is that you find some hidden magic in the ordinary pleasures of life and that you believe that it is possible for you. The Two of Pentacles reversed is certainly going to challenge us in the month of March, but that's okay. I believe that you're capable of handling this challenge and again of strengthening the way you believe in yourself and the way that you make meaning of life, that it comes closer to a genuine truth of yours, whatever truth that is. I hope it helps you feel more capable and that you have a purpose. You don't have to figure everything out today. You have time to figure things out. So just notice, beautiful things, open up for a little bit of joy, see if it's possible for you to experience joy. I'm right here with you, you guys. Don't forget that. Okay. So, this is a card for me as well. And when I got the Two of Pentacles reversed for the month ahead, I was like, okay, I've got to keep filling up my cup. I know that is my responsibility so that I can still be the person that I want to be. And it's not a prediction of things getting worse. It's definitely not that. It can just be that, you've had your head down for so long that you haven't come up to enjoy the beauty that is around you. And that's always a great call out, a very loving call out. So, Two of Pentacles, it's like, yep, I mean, maybe things don't get worse, but you have to make yourself better. You have to make your mind and your heart and your feelings better because again, we're all getting hijacked by like the media and all this stuff going on. It's easy to get sucked in and think the worst case scenario all the time, but you're going to be way more equipped to have solutions for the worst case scenarios if you're paying attention to yourself, you're loving yourself, and you're making space for joy. And that wraps up the March podcast. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.